So, what do you think connects a simple deck of cards, a nuclear bomb, and, well, the entire internet? It sounds like a riddle, right? Well, the answer, believe it or not, is a bitter, century old math feud. Yeah, you heard that right. Let's dive in. Okay, so let's start with a few questions that seem like they have nothing to do with each other. First up, that deck of cards. How many times do you really need to shuffle it to get a truly random mix? Is it like 2 times, 7, maybe 100? We all kind of just guess, but what's the real number? All right, now let's crank up the stakes a lot. How in the world do you figure out the exact amount of uranium it takes to build a nuclear bomb? I mean, think about that. The level of precision you need, it's just mind-boggling. There's zero room for error. And for our last one, something you and I do every single day. How does Google just know? You type something in, and in less than a second, it sorts through billions, literally billions of web pages to find the exact one you're looking for. Not just some page stuffed with keywords, but the right one. How does that even work? Okay, so here's the crazy part. The incredible link between all three of these things, shuffling cards, building a bomb, and searching the web, it's not some brand new AI or a massive supercomputer. Nope, it's an idea that was born from a super personal, really intense intellectual feud in Russia more than 100 years ago. So let's go back in time. We're in early 20th century Russia. The whole country is basically a tinderbox, right on the edge of a massive revolution. And this epic clash of ideas wasn't just happening in politics. It was spilling over into the most unlikely of places, the world of pure math. So, in one corner, you've got Andrey Markov. They called him the Furious. He was a passionate atheist, a socialist, just a really intense guy. And in the other corner, Pavel Nekrasov. He was a deeply religious man, loyal to the Tsar, and he had this wild idea that you could use math, pure math, to actually prove that humans have free will. And the whole argument, their entire feud, really centered on this one big idea in probability that had been around for like 200 years, the law of large numbers. It's pretty simple, really. It just says that if you do something like flip a coin over and over and over, the results will eventually get super close to 50-50 heads and tails. But here's the key, and this is super important. It only works for independent events. Where one coin flip has absolutely no effect on the next one. Okay, but this is where Nekrasov took things in a pretty wild direction. He looked at social statistics, stuff like marriage rates, crime rates, and he noticed they were pretty stable year after year. So he flipped the logic on its head. He argued that because these statistics were stable, it proved that every single one of those decisions to get married, to commit a crime, must be an independent act of free will. He was basically saying, look, here's the mathematical proof for free will. Well, Markov heard this and basically thought it was the most ridiculous thing he'd ever heard, just complete nonsense. He was convinced that you could have predictable, stable outcomes even when events depend on each other. So he set out on a mission to totally dismantle Nekrasov's argument, to prove him wrong once and for all. And the way he did it was just brilliant. He came up with this really clever 3-step proof. And for his main piece of evidence, he didn't use coin flips or dice rolls. No, he used one of Russia's most famous and beloved poems, Pushkin's Eugene Onegin. He literally turned a work of art into a mathematical laboratory. Okay, so step 1 was pretty straightforward. He took the first 20,000 letters of the poem and just counted. What did he find? A pretty simple split. 43% were vowels, 57% were consonants. Easy enough, right? But then came the killer move. Step 2, he proved that the letters were not independent at all. I mean, check this out. If they were independent, you'd expect a vowel to be followed by another vowel about 18% of the time. But in the actual poem, it was only 6%. That's a massive difference. It proved, without a doubt, that the letter that comes before has a huge influence on the letter that comes next. So for his final step, he used this data to build what was basically a simple prediction machine, a system with just 2 states, vowel and consonant. And he figured out the exact probability of jumping from one state to the next. And here's the absolute kicker. Even though the letters were completely dependent on each other, the system as a whole still settled into a predictable, stable average, just like the coin flips. Boom! Nekrasov's entire argument about free will completely and utterly demolished. So Markov totally won the feud. He shattered Nekrasov's argument. But here's the thing. Nobody really cared. His idea, which we now call a Markov chain, was just seen as this weird, niche thing for pure mathematicians. It was basically ignored for decades. That is, until it became the secret ingredient for 3 inventions that would literally change the world. Okay, fast forward to the 1940s and the Manhattan Project. The scientists had a huge problem. How do you predict what trillions of individual neutrons are going to do inside a nuclear reactor? You can't track them one by one. But then they had a breakthrough. They realized that a neutron hitting an atom, which then releases more neutrons, well, that's a dependent chain of events. It was the perfect problem for a Markov chain. And by using his method, they were able to simulate the chain reaction and calculate the critical mass needed to build the atomic bomb.
Application number 2, the internet. You might remember, early search engines were kind of terrible. They were super easy to trick. Then, in the late 90s, a couple of Stanford students named Larry Page and Sergey Brin had this brilliant idea. What if you modeled the entire World Wide Web as one massive Markov chain? Think about it. Every web page is a state, and every time you click a link, that's a transition. They imagined a random web surfer just clicking links forever. The pages that surfer would end up on most often must be the most important. They called it PageRank. And that little idea, well, that became Google.
And that brings us right up to today, to the cutting edge of AI. We're talking about large language models, the tech behind things like ChatGPT. And at their very core, what are they? You guessed it. They're just unbelievably complex, souped-up Markov chains. It's the exact same idea Markov had with the poem. Instead of predicting the next letter, they predict the next word, or token, in a sentence. It's a direct line from Russian poetry to the AI revolution.
So what's the secret sauce here? What makes this one idea so powerful? It's something called the memoryless property. It's the genius ability to predict the next step in a super complex system by only looking at where you are right now, not the entire convoluted history of how you got there. It lets you ignore all the noise and focus only on the leap to the next state. It's an incredibly powerful way to simplify the world. Which, believe it or not, brings us all the way back to our very first question. Remember the deck of cards? We can now see it for what it is, a Markov chain. Every single possible order of the 52 cards is a state, and every shuffle is a transition that moves you to a new state. So, armed with all this knowledge, what's the answer? All right, so if you're doing a proper riffle shuffle, the one where you split the deck and kind of weave the cards together, the magic number of shuffles you need to make that deck random is just 7. That's it. Only 7 times. But, and this is a big but, if you're doing that less effective overhand shuffle where you just kind of move chunks of cards from one hand to the other, well, to get the same level of randomness, you'd need to do it more than 2,000 times. That's a pretty massive difference, huh? So there you have it. From a philosophical fight about free will and God, to the atom bomb, to the very foundation of our digital lives, the Markov chain has turned out to be one of the most powerful, behind-the-scenes ideas in modern history. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other huge, messy problems out there are just waiting for someone to find the right chain?